Hey, this is Hans from Request Music, and I want to introduce a new module today. But first of all, let's have a look at this one because that's also new and it's actually freely available in the store. So you can download it for free. It's a fades module, and it only fades. The thing is that I created some videos lately, and I needed to fade out material because I was playing and then wanted the sound to stop. And then always I had to do something like take the volume controllers and all that kind of stuff and just dial it back. And that was too annoying actually. So what I've done now is I've created a fades module, and the fades module has a large knob that you can set from 0.05 up to 10 seconds, and then you can just start it by triggering it by pressing the button, and you see that it fades in. It fades also the knob in, but then you can see by looking at the light that it is indeed on, and you can press it again and it fades out. So it's a very simple module. I might actually lengthen the time later on. Maybe I'll change it to 20 seconds because sometimes I want it to be longer. But actually, the only thing that you need to do is take this as the last module in your chain before going into your main outs. So if I have my cable switched on, then the setting would be, because I have a delay and reverb that I'm also going to use on that other module that I'm going to show you, that I take my left out into my reverb, right out into my reverb, and take the left and right out of into the fader, and take this into my left and right main out, and then this is going to set that. So I'm going to switch the cables off. I'm not too fond of showing all those cables, so switch that off. But now if there's sound, I'll be able to switch it on this way. Anyway, a new module. I really like those simulations, and I already did this cells module. And in the same category, there is a simulation that is that is called Wire World, or World of Wires or something. And those are also cells. So this is the module. It's called Wires. I like those Z's. Sorry for that. And the Wires module, if you drag it in, it comes up with this. And you see all these colors and thingies there. First of all, there's a grid that you can set. And in the default setting, it comes up with this. And afterwards, if you reset the module, because there's a reset here, then it actually clears it and it won't come back. So maybe the best first thing that you could do is just save this as default, for instance, something like that. So you'll always be able to get it back. And what is it? There are a couple of cells. And the cells are gray for the electrical wires, and there's this thing with a circle in that, and that's an oscillator. And there's this thing running across, and that's the electric current going through the cables, through the wires. And if I connect this, then the oscillator, one of them, is going to be played whenever this electric current goes through. So if I connect my left and my right outputs, and I'll switch this on, you'll hear that there is indeed sound, and I'll dial it up. And the length, or the sound for the oscillator, can be changed by using the attack, decay, sustain, release that is here. There's a voice number that you can select there. It can go up to 32 oscillators, and I'll switch on global, so it would change all of those sounds for all of those oscillators if there's more in there. But you see there's only one voice in there, so, and you see the grid setting, so it only runs that one oscillator when it's going over that. So, and indeed, if I want to change the decay settings for that, I can do that. And it's now set at a sine wave, and if I change this, it's actually sawtooth, but a very simple one. And there's some cutoff and resonance in there, so you have sort of a basic sound then running. And actually the thing that you want to do is you want to use your mouse to to create or draw wires. If I use just my just my left mouse button, I can actually drag those cables, and you see that the electric current is then going into the second wire as well. And I'll take this out by using my right mouse button, with which I can delete stuff in there. And then the next step would be to add an extra oscillator. And if I press my shift key, I can add an extra oscillator in there. So something like this. And I could drag this on again to new part, shift key there, and something like that. And maybe draw the wire onto this, and maybe draw it down and add a next one. And since this is a closed circuit, sort of, the current has the opportunity to go all the way around, and it keeps on running. If, on the other hand, I would create something else, and I'll do that by resetting this first. So if I press my reset button, it's cleared all the way, and as you can see, I have a grid that I can change. So I can have a very large grid, so I don't have too many wires that I can put in, or I can go up to 32 by 28 grid. And so somewhere in the middle is probably something that you could use for yourself. So now if I just draw this, and it's just a matter of clicking and left clicking and dragging, I get this wire. And then if I want an oscillator at some point, as I said, I press my shift key. If I want to start the current, I can actually use my command or control key to click on a cell. And as you can see, it runs this one time because it can't run all the way through the wires. If, on the other hand, I double click on this cell that I want to start the point with, then if I connect something up to my start point, or to my start jack here, then I can use that to initialize the head, as it's called, where the actual action is. So let's take an LFO in there. So LFO, there we are, and I'll take the sawtooth, or actually the ramp, and I'll connect that to start. And then this is running that all the time, right? So as soon as it gets a signal from my LFO, it's starting to run there. And I can actually, if I would drag this on to have a next line somewhere, or maybe even I can actually use my right mouse button to change this. Say that I want a second part here, and I double click this as well and press my shift click here, then I have two sort of separate lines that can change the current, or create a current in such a wire flow. And if I press my shift key here as well to press this, now I got two oscillators, and you hear that the pitch is used by, or is changed by, using the Y position of this oscillator. For the rest, there's also the option of using the Alt key, where the Alt key gives you a cross, and that cross is actually a gate output. So when the head, which is the current, the orange or the blue flow actually, the blue flow, when it enters this X, it will give you a gate output here. So you can use that to combine and sort of create your own kind of sequencers or something like that. And so now I've got a couple of oscillators. I've got it set to global, but if I don't, I'll just switch this off and I'll dial to one of the oscillators that I want to change and give that a longer setting, or maybe I want that to be a sine wave. And as you can hear, that changes the sound of things. Then for the rest, obviously there's a random button. So if I press the random, I get something like this, and you see that also the starting points are randomized. So and I can actually double click on such a point to take it away if I want. So now actually there's nothing running, but I can still, for instance, put some dot in here so that as soon as it gets the start point or the starting trigger, it will run that. And I could do that here as well. And again, still take the output from the gates if I want to drive something else from that part as well. So yeah, that's actually what WIREZ is, and obviously you can save everything from it, and you can have very, very difficult ones. And as you can hear, this does not drive by itself, but you can still drive it by yourself by using your command key and just clicking this somewhere in that whole thing, and it will run the current from there. And once it sees an opportunity to go all the way down and run through, then you would get a close current. Actually, it's looking at connected gray cells, and that sort of interferes with the current at some point. So if you do a very full kind of cell grid like this one is, you might get into, well, not so much problems, but you will get into points where the current just won't run. It will kill itself, sort of. So as said, you can create all kinds of stuff in there, like with this, where you have this and you could hear that the pitch was going up for all of those oscillators. You can have up to 32 in them, and as soon as I click one of those cells with the head setting, which is the command key, you can actually see that when it's connected as a loop, that actually the current will normally start to try running both ways, and then it ends up by, or it ends the current by running into itself, sort of. So that's how you could define this. And as said, if I double click this cell, you get a sort of small dot there, and then that is run by getting that start from the outside. So you can do all kinds of stupid or weird things in there, stuff like this, or maybe another one. Let's see, I've just created some presets. So something like this, if I double click this cell, it will run it from there. And apparently this is not connected, but I could still put a dot in there. And maybe hear someone. So something like this, and let's set all the length long, because then you will hear my fades out. Yeah, I got this set to 5 seconds. Click this. Oh, click the trigger, not the knob. Duh. So if I click this, you'll hear that it fades out in 5 seconds. So that was good for my videos, and it also ends this video. So I hope you like it. It will come out in a couple of days, hopefully, and I'll see you back in a new video. So cheers, bye bye.